Jake squeezed through the opening, and Emily followed close behind. Inside, the cave was cool and damp, with the sound of dripping water echoing off the walls. They explored the cave, shining their flashlight into the shadows. Near the back of the cave, they found a small, hidden door covered in seaweed and barnacles. "This has to be it," Jake said, his heart racing. "Help me clear away the seaweed." Together, they cleared the door and found an old, rusty latch. With a bit of effort, they managed to open it, revealing a small chamber inside. Their flashlight beams illuminated a wooden chest, intricately carved and bound with iron bands. "We found it," Emily whispered, her eyes wide with amazement. Jake's hands trembled with excitement as he opened the chest. Inside, they found a collection of gold coins, jewels, and other treasures, all glinting in the flashlight's beam. There was also a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon, each one addressed to their great-grandfather. "This is incredible," Jake said, his voice filled with awe. "Great-grandpa really did find treasure." Emily picked up one of the letters and began to read. "These letters are from other sailors and explorers. They talk about their adventures and the treasures they found. It's like a time capsule of his life." Jake nodded, feeling a deep sense of connection to their great-grandfather. "He must have wanted us to find this and carry on his legacy." They carefully packed the treasure back into the chest and made their way out of the cave. As they emerged into the sunlight, they felt a sense of triumph and accomplishment. They had followed the clues, solved the riddles, and discovered the hidden treasure. When they returned home, they showed their parents the treasure and the letters. Their parents were amazed and proud of their determination and resourcefulness. "You two have the spirit of true adventurers," their father said, ruffling Jake's hair. "Just like your great-grandfather." Their mother smiled warmly. "We'll keep this treasure safe and make sure it remains a part of our family's legacy. And who knows, maybe someday you'll have adventures of your own to add to it." Jake and Emily felt a deep sense of pride and excitement. They knew that their great-grandfather's legacy would live on through them and that the treasure they had found was just the beginning of their own adventures. Over the next few weeks, they spent their free time studying the letters and learning more about their great-grandfather's life. They discovered that he had traveled to distant lands, made lifelong friends with other explorers, and even saved a small village from a pirate attack. His courage and determination inspired them, and they felt a deep sense of connection to him. One afternoon, as they were reading one of the letters, Emily looked up at Jake with a thoughtful expression. "Jake, do you think there could be more treasures out there, hidden by other explorers?" she asked. Jake grinned. "I wouldn't be surprised. There are so many stories and secrets waiting to be discovered. And now that we've proven we can solve the clues and find the treasure, there's nothing stopping us from seeking out more adventures." Emily's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Let's make a pact, then. We'll continue Great-Grandpa's legacy and become explorers ourselves. We'll search for hidden treasures, uncover ancient secrets, and write our own stories to add to the family journal." Jake extended his hand, and Emily shook it firmly. "It's a deal. We'll be the greatest explorers Clearwater has ever seen." With their new pact, Jake and Emily began planning their next adventure. They studied maps, read books about famous explorers, and even practiced their navigation and survival skills. Their parents supported their newfound passion, encouraging them to follow their dreams and explore the world. One sunny morning, they decided to embark on their first official expedition. They had heard rumors of an old shipwreck off the coast of Clearwater, and they were determined to find it. Armed with their great-grandfather's journal, a map, and their trusty backpacks, they set off on their bicycles, riding along the coastal path toward the rumored location. As they reached the cliffs overlooking the sea, they spotted a group of rocks jutting out of the water. According to the map, the shipwreck was supposed to be nearby, hidden among the rocks and accessible only at low tide. "We'll have to be careful," Jake said, checking the tide schedule. "The tide will be low for a few hours, so we have enough time to explore." They climbed down the cliffs, carefully making their way to the rocky shore. As they approached the rocks, they noticed the remains of an old wooden ship partially buried in the sand. The ship's weathered hull and broken mast told the story of a long-ago wreck. "This must be it," Emily said, her voice filled with awe. "Let's see if we can find anything valuable." They searched the shipwreck, carefully examining the crevices and hidden compartments. To their delight, they discovered a small, weathered chest tucked away in the captain's quarters. The chest was locked, but Jake managed to pick the rusty lock with a bit of ingenuity and determination. Inside, they found a collection of antique coins, navigational instruments, and a small, intricately carved box. Emily opened the box to reveal a beautiful, jeweled compass, its needle still pointing true. "This is incredible," Jake said, examining the compass. "It must have belonged to the ship's captain. It's a real piece of history." Emily nodded, her eyes shining with excitement. "And it's our first official find as explorers. We'll add it to our collection and write about it in our journal." As they made their way back home, they felt a deep sense of satisfaction and pride. They had successfully uncovered another hidden treasure and taken their first steps toward becoming true explorers. They knew that there were countless adventures waiting for them, and they were ready to face whatever challenges and mysteries the world had to offer. With their great-grandfather's spirit guiding them and their unwavering determination, Jake and Emily were destined for greatness. Their legacy as explorers had just begun, and they were eager to see where their journey would take them next. Jake was a 12-year-old boy with an adventurous spirit and an insatiable curiosity. He lived in a charming old house on the outskirts of the seaside town of Clearwater with his 10-year-old sister, Emily, and their parents. The house had once belonged to their great-grandfather, a sailor who had traveled the world and collected treasures and artifacts from distant lands. Jake and Emily loved exploring the house and discovering its hidden secrets. One rainy afternoon, while rummaging through the dusty attic, Jake and Emily stumbled upon an old wooden chest. It was intricately carved with nautical designs and had a large, rusted lock. With a little effort, they managed to pry it open, revealing a treasure trove of maps, trinkets, and faded photographs. "Wow, look at all this stuff!" Emily exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. Jake carefully sifted through the contents of the chest, his heart racing with anticipation. Among the maps and trinkets, he found a small, weathered leather journal. As he flipped through the pages, he discovered handwritten entries detailing their great-grandfather's adventures at sea. The journal was filled with stories of shipwrecks, hidden coves, and buried treasure. Emily, look at this, Jake said, holding up the journal. Great-grandpa wrote about all his adventures. There's even a mention of a hidden treasure somewhere near Clearwater. Emily's eyes sparkled with excitement. Do you think we can find it, Jake? Jake nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. If we can decipher these clues, I think we have a chance. The siblings spent the next few days poring over the journal, deciphering the clues and piecing together the map that would lead them to the treasure. The journal mentioned a series of landmarks and riddles that had to be solved in order to find the hidden location. Their first clue led them to the old lighthouse on the edge of town. The lighthouse had been out of commission for years, but it was still a popular spot for tourists and locals alike. Jake and Emily arrived early one morning, armed with the journal and a sense of determination. The journal says we need to find the Keeper of Light and look beneath his feet, Jake said, scanning the lighthouse grounds. Emily pointed to a weathered statue of a lighthouse keeper standing near the entrance. Do you think that's him? Jake nodded. It has to be. Let's check it out. They approached the statue and began searching around its base. After a few minutes of digging through the sand and rocks, Emily's fingers brushed against something hard. I found something, she exclaimed, pulling out a small, metal box. Jake's heart pounded with excitement as he opened the box. Inside was a piece of parchment with another riddle written on it. Where the sun sets in a golden hue, look for the tree that splits in two. That must be our next clue, Jake said, studying the riddle. We need to find a tree that splits in two and faces west. Emily thought for a moment. I remember seeing a tree like that in the park near the beach. It's an old oak tree that splits right down the middle. With renewed determination, the siblings set off for the park. The rain had stopped, and the sun was beginning to peek through the clouds, casting a warm, golden light over the town. As they reached the park, they spotted the old oak tree that Emily had mentioned. It stood tall and proud, its trunk splitting into two massive branches. This has to be it, Jake said, approaching the tree. Let's see if we can find anything unusual. They circled the tree, inspecting its roots and the ground around it. After a few minutes, Emily noticed a small, weathered stone with strange markings carved into it. Jake, look at this, she called out. Jake joined her and examined the stone. The markings matched those in their great-grandfather's journal. With a sense of excitement, he dug around the stone and uncovered another piece of parchment with a new riddle. Where the waves kiss the rocky shore, seek the cave with the hidden door. Jake's eyes lit up. I know where that is. There's a rocky cove a few miles down the coast. We used to go there with Mom and Dad to explore the tide pools. Emily nodded eagerly. Let's go. They set off along the coastal path, the sound of crashing waves growing louder as they neared the cove. The sun was high in the sky now, and the salty sea breeze filled their lungs. When they reached the cove, they could see the rocky shore and the tide pools glistening in the sunlight. Look for a cave, Jake instructed, scanning the cliffs. They searched the rocky shore, clambering over boulders and peering into crevices. Finally, Emily spotted a narrow opening partially hidden by a large rock. Over here, Jake, she called,